afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Advanced Ways to Use CQG and RTD with Microsoft Excel, featuring Thom Hartle. Welcome, Thom. Couldn't hear you.
Thank you, Marcus.
All right, my name is Marcus Kwan. I'm CQG's Vice President of Product Strategy and Design, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's agenda includes a 15 to 20 minute presentation from Thom, then about 5 to 10 minutes for questions, and we'll be recording today's webinar, and it will be posted within 48 hours to the events section on news.cqg.com. And now I'd like to introduce Thom. Thom has been in the trading business for over 30 years. He's been both on the buy side as well as the sell side. He's been an educator and a journalist within the industry. Thom has been using CQG since 1984, and CQG is fortunate to have him on our team here in the Denver office as the Director of Product Training. Thom is our resident expert in using RTD functionality to power Excel dashboards using CQG. And he's able to do data visualizations in innovative ways and make these Excel spreadsheets really useful to our customers. Over the years, I've been fortunate to collaborate with Thom on many projects here at CQG and have benefited greatly from his expertise. So, Thom, thanks for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Marcus, and thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar on using Excel with your CQG. Now, the key thing about Excel, what really makes it of value is it's this completely open palette. That is, you can really take the Excel spreadsheet and do all kinds of things with it in terms of segmentation, having quote displays, charts, data visualization techniques applied to things such as percentage net gain, using heat mapping, and it just can really help your workflow go a lot easier. Some of the features I really like in Excel are like the heat mapping for things like, for example, if you had a column that was the highest percentage net gain, you could just have it be heat mapped to show the top ones in green. So you don't have to do any comparisons in your head. You don't have to do any math. You can just use colors, data histogram bars, things like that will highlight the key market information to you without you having to just look at a big table of black fonts on a white background. In addition, Excel has a pretty cool feature called spark lines that I'll be using. And you can use Excel for calculations, for getting the proper decimalization, for like spread calculations, things like that, forward curves, as well as Excel has a really nice lookup function that helps you do things for ranking. So today I'm going to be going over some of those features, and I'm going to be working both from screen captures and from some Excel spreadsheets to show you the formulas that I actually use to make my dashboards really look like trader screens. So I'll be looking at some correlation dashboards to show you those features. I'm going to show you some of my spread dashboards and how I use some techniques there just to make it easier again to use. And then finally, I'll get into dynamic ranking, which is kind of a cool feature where you can have Excel be looking at, say, what are the most actively traded strikes of a particular option chain by volume, which ones have the largest open interest, and it will actually update your spreadsheet dynamically throughout the day. Another trick I'm doing is looking at markets and ranking them by dynamic volatility throughout the day. And then finally, I'm going to show you some of my favorite resources on the internet for basically finding things and getting my work done that I want to do. So we're going to get started here now. So I'm going to talk about correlation to start. And so I'm going to switch over here to one of my spreadsheets. So here is, as I was talking about, the notion of an open palette. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. So on this left-hand section, I have market information, DOM data, open, high, low, close. Down here I have like what's the net gain for the day. I have average true range. I have like a 5-minute percent change chart. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, I have this correlation spreadsheet. So what this is doing is it's looking at the correlation of these markets. The symbols are here that are in the column, and they also the same ones along the row. And I've set it to be 15 minutes, and it's a correlation back 10 periods. And again, what's really nice about RTD is that we can actually change parameters on the fly from a single cell. This is something you could not do with DDE. If you were using DDE, you'd have to actually go in and rewrite the code in the cell to say, I don't want it to be a 10-bar look back. I want it to be 20. With RTD, I can have the RTD formula reference this cell. So when I change this from 10 to 20, all of these will update. Now, what I like about this is you can see I've got it heat mapped where the top 5 are in bright green and the bottom 5 are in bright red. So my eyes easily go to those ones, and I can spot which markets are the most negatively correlated and which ones are the most strongly correlated. However, what I don't see here and cannot see in this kind of a format is how's these correlations been changing, what's been going over, say, recently over the last 10 days or something like that, or the last 10 bars. But with Excel, and I work with 2013, Office 2013, we have a really cool feature called spark lines. And I'm going to show you first how to set up a spark line in Excel, and then I will show you a spreadsheet where I've added that feature. So let's go over to Excel. And so here I have a series here. I have the E-mini S&P in cell B3 and CLE for crude oil in cell C3. And I'm using this formula that you see down here that I've expanded. So this is your typical RTD call. It's a study data call. It's using correlation. It's looking for the symbol in B3 and the symbol in C3. It's looking for the period, that is the look back, to be in D3, which is up here, 50 bars. And I'm using daily closes that have been adjusted, equalized closes over the last 50 bars. Now, one of the things that's cool in our latest advancements here with RTD is one of the problems is you can build a spreadsheet and it can really be pulling a lot of information from CQG. It could actually impact on the performance of CQG if you have it updating, say, on every single real-time tick that comes through. What we've added is this end of bar and period space 30. What this is doing is it's telling the correlation to get calculated, say, every 30 seconds, not on every update of every trade. So meaning I'm looking at daily bars, I really don't need to know this on a tick-by-tick basis. And so what I do is that when I build these spreadsheets, I'll vary this. I might have some group be 5 seconds, some groups be 10 seconds, some groups be 20 seconds. And what that does is it allows Excel to pull information from CQG without really having a big impact. Now, it may take a minute or two for when Excel first starts up to get all updated, but you won't really see the impact on the performance of CQG when you first launch it if you did not use this feature. So what I have up here is I have the correlations being tracked. This is today's. It's 0.38, 0.32 for yesterday, and going backwards down to 10 days ago, minus 0.2. So the way we can now see this change is I'm going to use a spark line. And so I come up here to Insert and under Spark Lines, and I like to use a column version for this. So it knows it's in cell D7, and then the data range is this. I just select this, and I hit Enter, and go, and here we are. So here's my little spark line showing me how basically the correlation has actually been climbing over the last 10 days. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger by taking this and going, dragging across here, and then I go to Home, and I say Merge and Center. Now I can see this a little bit bigger if I wanted to. Now the other thing I'd like to know is, I'd like to actually see which bars are actually negative and positive. So I come back up here to Design, and under Marker Colors, I say negative points, I want them to be red. So now I can see, yes, that over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, it's been a positive correlation, having turned up from being negative for the 7th through the 10th days. And so Now I'm going to show you an example of actually using these spark lines in a correlation spreadsheet. So here I have this correlation dashboard, and so I have the columns here are the symbols, and then they match along the column titles like this. So if we recall, now this is from yesterday, and so the first column here is EP. I come down to crude, and yesterday it was 32, and then I have my little spark line showing me how it was climbing. I took this screen capture yesterday, or last night while I was preparing for this. I also have the net change, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at a 50 correlation bars back using the adjusted daily closes. And so 50 days ago, the crude oil has climbed from it's been a net change of -16. So actually it's dropped over the last 50 days is what's happened in terms of the correlation. Now, one of the things you notice here, I have the same, when I fill in this column here for symbols, then they populate along the top here. So I actually have an EP that crosses the EP here. And so I wouldn't have a correlation value because it would just be 100 because I'm comparing it to itself. So what I use the spark lines for in these boxes is this is showing me what the daily closes have been for the last 7 days. So I can see that the E-mini S&P has jumped up and it's been a little sideways. NASDAQ has actually been climbing a little bit. And this also helps me to just, when I look at like, here's the 2-year contract, I can see that symbol, and I see the Eurostoxx index right next to it, so I know I'm comparing those two like that. So that's an example of looking at using spark lines with correlation. And in addition, I still have the heat mapping going on. So the highest correlated markets, the top 5 are in green, the values, and the bottom 5 I use gold in this case because I have negative correlations and they're red, and if I would have used red for the bottom 5, it would have kind of blurred together. So I can see crude and the Treasury bond market have been the most negatively correlated markets. Same thing with looking at nat gas versus crude oil, it's been the most negatively correlated market also. So it's a combination of the spark lines and using heat maps and being able to just, if I wanted to go to a 10-bar look back, I just type in 10 and the whole dashboard updates. So it's very quick and easy to work through. And again, the data visualization gives you the information you need. So now I mentioned how helpful it is for looking at spreads. So let's look at, here's an example of looking at the V-stocks versus the VIX traded here in the U.S. This is traded in Europe. And so what I have here is along the top, I show the bid and the ask for the spread, and you can just spot that easily by the B and the A and then the last trade. I have these forward curves, and the red line is yesterday's settlement, and the blue line is today's trade. Notice here on February of 14, I'm showing a price of $24.33, but if I look up here, I see the last trade was $24.05, and the bid is 10 and offered at 55. And so this last is actually stale because it's outside of the current best bid and the best ask. However, my forward curve is plotting the difference between the bid and the ask because of the fact this last trade's out. This is just a simple trick because if I had 24.05, it would be down here and it would actually kind of throw off the way the forward curve looks if you only plotted last trade. And so I'm going to show how I do that in the forward curves, how I add the text to the quotes so that you know it's a bid and an ask without having to be looking along columns. And then we also have the same thing for spread values. I can actually get out of CQG a spread between these two markets, and I do the same trick here. So now I'm going to jump over to an Excel spreadsheet and show you those tricks. So the way you add text to a value and format it is, if you recall, the right-hand side was the spread between the VSTOXX and the VIX, and so that is a contract data call for a quote, and I use our spread function, and FVS (1), which is the first contract, minus the VIX first contract. I'm calling for the ask price. Now I know it's decimalized in with 2 decimals, and I can't add a letter A to a number in Excel. However, if I use this text function, what that does is it converts the number to be a text format, and then I have this pound.00 that tells Excel to use the 2 decimal places on that text, and then now I can add the letter A with the ampersand, the quote, and a space and an A. So now it's being displayed with the A for the ask price and the B with the bid price. Not a big deal, but it just makes it easier for you to read the quote board to see the ask and the bid next to it. Now, if you recall, before I said sometimes the last trade may be stale, the bid and the ask may change, and the last trade's outside of that range. So this is the formula I do for that. It's right up in here. You can see this OR. It's an OR function. Now, sometimes we might not have any kind of a last trade. It might be a very thin market. And so what happens if it sees OR, if it means space, there's nothing there, or if the bid should be above the ask or the ask is below the bid because it's very stale, then if any of these things happen, if the last is below the bid or the last is above the ask, then what it does is if it doesn't see a price or if the last trade is outside of the range of the bid and the ask, then it knows to just get the bid and the ask and divide it by 2. Or if it is within the range, then it gives me the price. So you can see here now, watch what happens. If I put in a price of $15.25 again, it's in the middle, so it gives me the last price. If I put in a bid of $15.20, a last of $15.20, indicating that it's old, now the formula gives me the midpoint between the bid and the ask. Or if I put in 15, say 28, again, that's an old trade, and again, it splits the 22 to 26 and gives me 24. So that just helps your forward curves. Okay. Now, sometimes in spreads, you might also have to use some sort of an adjustment to one leg. For example, this is a quote I'm using from a spread chart that's using heating oil versus gas oil. Heating oil trades in dollars per gallon. Gas oil trades in dollars per ton. So what you have to do is you have to divide the gas oil price by 312.9 to convert it to be dollars per gallon. So again, it's easy to do in Excel. This is just taking the bid price from the heating oil that's in a different spreadsheet minus the adjusted gas oil price, and then you can just decimalize it and be done with that. Now, another problem you can run into in drawing like your forward curves is sometimes maybe a market has a bad price in it, or something's going on that it affects and gives you maybe an error. Like, for example, in this case, I'm just going to divide 1 by 0. So I get an error, and the chart plots this line all the way down to 0, which messes up your forward curves. Well, it turns out that if Excel sees a pound NA in a value for plotting the chart, it knows to just skip it. So in this case, what I do is on all my charts, I will use this function. Excuse me. I'm going to put it in here now. So now I've got the same is error. I'm going, if it's an error, 1 divided by 0 will be an error. Then display NA, open parentheses, close parentheses, or in my case, I had an 8 there before. So now when I put that in, you can see that when Excel, the chart sees this pound NA, it just skips over it. It literally ignores it. This is real nice so you don't have holes or wild lines off of your charts. So now I want to talk a little bit about dynamic ranking. Here's an example of an option spreadsheet, which we have on our workspace downloads page, and I'll be showing you at the end of the presentation. What this is doing is I've configured it to give me the September crude oil market and all of the September options, starting with a strike of 101. And then what is happening here is the Excel spreadsheet is ranking the strikes by the volume. Okay, so I can see right now that the September crude with the 111 strike price has the most actively traded volume at this point. I also show yesterday's net volume, traded volume, and I can see that it's actually been an increase of 1,100 plus contracts today. In this column, I have it being ranked by the open interest, so I can see that it's actually the 110 strike has the largest open interest. Now this is dynamically being ranked throughout the trading day. And so if another market starts to change, then it'll automatically update. What I've also done here is I've had the at the money be highlighted in red. So the 106, as you see up here, the 106 calls and puts are the at the money, as the last price on SEP crude is 105.92. So I'm also color coding which one is the at the money. And they're the same information down here on the put side. So to show dynamic ranking, I'm going to close this now, and I'm going to open up another spreadsheet and walk you through the tricks to doing dynamic ranking. So what I have here is just a simple little spreadsheet with symbols A, B, C, D, E, and volume of 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. And here is the Excel rank. Okay, so it says compare the rank of the volume in the E5, it's here, through all of the ones in this phase here, and tell me back where it lands up. So it's 100, as you can see, is the smallest, so it has a rank of 5 out of the 5. 104 is the highest, so it has a rank of 1. Okay. Now, one of the things that happens though with that rank version is notice how, let's say I make this B have the same rank as a D. Excel shows it as a tie. Okay. Well, I couldn't figure out a way, how do I rank ties doing this? But in searching around some of the forums, and again, I'm going to show you these forums that I look at for more little tricks, I found a forum that showed that to deal with this ranking feature, I guess, in Excel, you add this count if. And so what it does is it looks and it sees that if a number has been used before, then it changes the ranking. So now you see that I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these two that are tied, it now assigns them 2 different whole integers, which I need for doing proper ranking. Okay, so now that I know what the ranking is, what I want to do is I want to compile this and have this be in a table where I can have it ranked and be sorted automatically for me, because this could be changing throughout the day. So what I do is I say, okay, this is my, find the group within the group, number 1 ranked, find the group, this number 2, find the group, this number 3. So the way I do that is I say, okay, it's an if-then. If G5 equals J3, then return G5, which would be a 1, because I want G5 to match J3, but it doesn't, so it returns a 0. Okay, now I'll explain this on a further second. When you're doing a lookup in a column, you have to have, what you're looking for has to be an ascending column of values. So because I want to look for number 1 in here, I need to see an ascending row of values. So meaning how this I'm looking for 1, this was not 1, so it comes with a 0. This is not 1, so what it does is it adds 0.01 to this value. And then 4 is not 1, so it adds another 0.1 up to 0.3. And then here we have 1 is the first rank, so it returns the 1. And then in this column, if it sees that this value matches this value, then give me the symbol. So that's what it's doing here. And then if that's the case, then also give me the volume here. Now the same thing, I'm looking for 2. So using those same formulas, it finds 2 is right here. So it brings over symbol B and the volume. So this is basically, as you can see, all the way down here, number 5 is found, and it returns A and 100. Then I use the lookup function. Okay, so I say I want to look up this rank in this group. So when it comes down and it finds the 1, what lookup does is when it finds what you're looking for, then it returns what the value is right next to it. Okay, so because it sees the 1 here, then it returns this letter E. Now, lookup does not require you though to actually be, it has to be in the same row, but it doesn't have to be in the same column. So now I'm asking, say, okay, when you find the 1 for the first one, give me the volume. Okay, and so that's what it's doing here. It sees this 1 here, returns the volume from here. So now I have the ranking 1 through 5. I have the symbols and I have the volume. And like I said, if this was to change, let's say this becomes 1, this goes to 99, then you can see that it dropped automatically down to be the 5th one. So this idea of dynamic ranking we can use for other places too. So here's an example of where I'm ranking by volatility. So in this spreadsheet, I have over on another tab, I've put in all these symbols. Now my volatility definition is I'm taking the upper and lower Bollinger Band based on 5-minute bars, 20 bars back, and 2 standard deviations, the typical use of the Bollinger Band. And I am dividing it by the middle Bollinger Band, the moving average, and that normalizes. So a market that's real volatile will have a wide range about the moving average, and a market that is not very volatile will have a narrow range throughout the around the moving average. So now, when I look at this, I can see on a 5-minute basis, because it's at the top, that the Bund was the lowest volatile in my group. The highest market that was the most volatile at this moment was silver, as it's down here at the bottom. And so this is constantly moving throughout the day. Now, so to give me a sense of how the volatility is changing, what I do is if the volatility of the symbol has declined by just one level, then it's going to be backlit, or it's going to be with a green border, and the symbol will be green. In other words, right before this, the E and Q was right here, but it moved up 1. If it moved up 2 levels, then it's bright green. If it moved down 2 levels, it's bright red. If it only moved down 1 level, it would have been a red font. So this allows me to kind of see which markets are the most volatile throughout the trading day. And because I use these Bollinger Bands, I also have a condition where if the last price is tagging the upper Bollinger Band or is tagging the lower Bollinger Band, then the last price is highlighted in red for an upper tag and highlighted in green for a lower tag. And then I have just standard other data visualization techniques in here for the net percent change for the day, giving the brightest ones in green. Here we had it during the day. Silver was the most down on the day, and it was down 2.31%. Again, using heat mapping and data bars to indicate the percent change. Okay, so we're near the end of this. I'm going to now, I want to bring up Internet Explorer and show you some of my sources. Here, just going to CQG. If you want to download some of my dashboards, and if you want to get samples of RTD formulas and how to build things, you can come here. You just click on that, and you go to our Workspaces downloads page, and you'll see a lot of my dashboards that you can download, and there's sample pages that give you RTD syntax for market data labels, tutorials, and things like that. We also have a forum. You can click here, and you'd be happy to answer your questions in the forum, and that can be shared among other people. You can always go in and Google for information. So like, for example, Mr. Excel is a real popular forum, and if I wanted to look for VLOOKUP, there I can just look for Mr. Excel VLOOKUP. Plus, it'll take you to all kinds of YouTubes that can explain how to do things. And then a couple of more that I like to use is this one right here, cpearson.com. You can see just all the information this guy just has written about how to use Excel for all kinds of things. And then lastly, I have chart utilities by this Pelletier on how to do kind of some unique charts, and so I've looked to him for these kinds of things. So he has tons of information also. So that ends my presentation in terms of this part here. So we're happy to now open it up for questions.
Great. Thanks a lot, Tom. So we do have a couple of questions. The first one is back on your first example with the correlation dashboard and the heat mapping. Can you do that for spreads, or is it the correlation between outrights only?
No, we can do that correlation through spreads. Yeah, because it's just another symbol, and we can pull that information as a study data from CQG.
Mm-hmm. And there are several questions about how can users access these spreadsheets. There's some specific ones, the FVS and the VIX demo sheet. Where can, people are asking if you can email these spreadsheets out to the audience. Where can people get these, Tom?
Yeah, a number of these are already posted at our Workspaces downloads page. We'll be getting my other ones up there as soon as possible. But you can email me directly at thartle@cqg.com with any requests, as well as I'm happy to help people with specific issues, because when you're first new to this RTD syntax, it's a little bit esoteric, but once you get the hang of it, you can quickly develop these own spreadsheets. And then hopefully within a week, we have a RTD toolkit ribbon that you'll be able to install on CQG in your Excel, and it will give you a dynamic interface, and I'll show you that here. So it looks like this. It'll be a ribbon that you can attach. Well, WebEx is giving me problems with accessing Excel, but that's because I brought up a picture, not the spreadsheet. So one more second. Here we go. So when you click on the toolkit, you'll see these different things you can pull in. So for example, you could say I want to see bar values, and this dialog is going to open up. And I can put in a symbol here. And I can say I want to see the time. Let me just say the open, high, low, close, and I want to just see it for say 5 bars, and add, and it just brings it right in for you. So anyway, so yes, go to Workspace Downloads page, or you can email me directly at thartle@cqg.com.
And that URL is news.cqg.com/workspaces.
Yes.
And we'll make sure that that link gets sent out to you in the thank you email that we'll send out as a response to this webinar. And we'll make sure that the examples that Tom has shown you today, most of them, or a lot of them, are posted on the Workspaces page already. The ones that are not, we'll upload them in the coming days. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar, and so we'll send out the link shortly, within 48 hours. And then please forward this on to any of your colleagues that might be interested in this as well. Tom, we do have another question here from Martin. Would there be a way of calculating the VWAP for custom or resettable time periods?
Yes, because CQG, in integrated client, you can use a custom session for the start and the close, and then we can call study values based on that custom session as well.
We have, looks like a last question from Judy. Is it possible to engage Tom's services for proprietary work with confidentiality agreements?
Yes, I only share dashboards and these ideas. The majority of these ideas are actually things that I've come up with, but if a customer has something that's proprietary, when I do something for them, I always check with them about sharing it, whether they're comfortable with that or not. And then we also have to understand is that my skills are in the area of RTD, so I do not use VBA, and we cannot use RTD for order routing. So if you wanted to use Excel and market data to include order routing, that would require the API team. And we have a professional services team that you can hire to assist you in using some of these features if you wanted to have order routing as well.
That's great.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.